Hey guys, so I haven't made a video in quite a while, but here I am. I'm going to be showing you a deck that I've been playing a fair bit of on ladder recently. And a lot of people have been asking for the deck list and that sort of thing, so I thought I'd, show the deck, play some games with it, tell you how to play it, that sort of thing. Just like good old, good old-fashioned deck guide. So yeah, it's a Crach on crate, and it's a veteran deck. There's not too many Skellige decks around at the moment, but I think this one's okay. It's a decent shot, you know. Been winning a fair amount with it. So yeah, here it is. Gold cards, we got Hjalmar, we got Burner, we got Coral, we got Muzzle. I'll explain each of them. So Hjalmar is a big 21-point play effectively, if it doesn't get answered in any way, which is pretty solid. That's like close to Nova value, right? It also blocks Scorch, which is pretty helpful because all your bears are lining up at 11, which can be a big issue. So Hjalmar's blocking Scorches and that sort of thing. And we have Burner, she's a clan Turasak or whatever, so she gets buffed by the veterans, which can mean she's like 9 points quite often. With the Skellige Storm on top, that's pretty good value. We've got Coral, she's just good control card, can deal with the big threatening units, lots of points, can shut down engines, that sort of thing, like Dragoons and Mangonels. Same thing with Muzzle, really good for denying engines, which people are playing quite a lot of at the moment. Really, with the golds, there's not too many cards that are better. Yeah, Skellige golds aren't great at the moment, so that's why we're running these. Silvers, we have Gremist for weather clear, because quite a few people are running gold weather. You can obviously change them out if they're not. Sigdrifa, she's really good res, you can res veteran. You can also res, the other things, which obviously you want to do. Decoy, we can decoy any res. We can also decoy the veterans to get another proc. Decoy Sigdrifa to res another veteran, that sort of thing. So decoy can be really useful. We're running that. We've got ADC, that's going to be pulling the highest unit, which is veteran. And this is when the real consistency of the deck is shown. So we have double cross and we also have Crach, which are both going to be pulling veteran by default. If you have all three in hand, obviously they won't. The next will be Hunter, obviously. So yeah, the veterans are strengthening all the Turasak units in your deck, which are the Hunters and the Bear Masters, and then of course Burner, as we already said. So yeah, those are working really well with the double cross. You want to pull them out in round one always, to strengthen up the rest of your deck effectively. We also have Restore. Now Restore we can use on the Spear Maiden for huge tempo in like late rounds, just to win, with a big finisher. You do that and then you pull out another Hunter or Bearmaster or whatever. Big points. Marching orders is, well, there's not, I mean, you could run a different silver here, but it's just a bit of thinning, and your bronze cards are really strong because we're buffing up the Bearmasters and the Hunters. So the Freyas that revive them are going to be pretty good. So we want marching orders to be able to pull Freyas more consistently, basically. So yeah, in bronzes we have the veteran, and he's buffing up the Hunter, which is just straight points, bit of damage, and the Bearmaster, which is straight points. It's a base 12, gets buffed up to like 15 usually, and then we have Spear Maidens to pull out Hunters and Bearmasters, Freyas to res Hunters and Bearmasters, and just a reconnaissance, because why not? So yeah, that's the deck. We'll probably roll into some gameplay now and see how to use the deck. Okay guys, so here we are. We are playing a game ranked ladder, just jump straight into it. Francesca is the opponent. So with this deck, we basically always want to be able to get our 3 veterans in round 1. This is the most important card in the deck, pretty much, for that round 1, getting some carryover value in the Bearmasters, essentially, and the Hunters. So we need an ADC and a veteran, or 2 veterans, at the very least, right? Because our Crach is also pulling one. So we need, 3 veterans to be available. So we got that. Then we're just mulliganing pretty much whatever we need. We got 2 maidens, so we probably want to throw a Bearmaster back here, just so we can pull the maximum out of them. Usually you want to get rid of Freyas straight away because they're pretty useless in round 1. Marching Orders is pulling a Freya, so we can get rid of that. Hjalmar's good, and I mean we're pretty happy with this hand, honestly. We could throw Reconnaissance maybe, see if we get something nicer. Sigdroof is okay. So, okay, our opponent's going for a dry pass. It's pretty spicy. So I think we just drop the veteran here. Like, if you win coin flip, your first few plays are always going to be the veterans because they're effectively giving you carryover value, right? So you want to get them down as soon as possible. Once you get the veterans down, you can start, you know, pumping the points out with the bear masters and the hunters and the spear maidens to work with those. So we can throw Freya away here, just give us more plays that we can make. And so yeah, the first couple of plays we're going to do the Crach. He's pulling a veteran, probably ADC next as well, buffing up all the boys. We could also do Sigdrifa to res the veteran we have in graveyard at the moment. That's probably a good idea. Maybe should have even done that before, but it's fine. This round we effectively want to play down to a few cards. You want to, with this deck, you're like your medium round is probably the strongest. Stronger than a long round or a short round, so you want about 4 or 5 cards if you can usually. Maybe you can go down to like 2 or 3 if you have Restore, which we do. The finisher for this deck is pretty strong, but then their average plays are also very, very good, so you can go for either of those. So here we're gonna res the veteran, get an extra proc on all of our guys. You can actually res veteran quite a lot of the time with Sigdrifa, especially if you don't have other targets in the graveyard to be resing. That's what we've done here. So now we're gonna go with the ADC, get a little bit more points on our guys. Playing into Scorch a bit difficult to avoid though with against Scoia'tael. They're gonna have probably Shiru, probably Scorch, which are both a bit of a problem. And obviously all the bears that come out from Bearmaster are 11 points, so they will line up. Kind of unfortunate. We can play around it a bit with Hjalmar, and in fact we probably should have done that before playing the veteran, but what can you do? In fact we might go with that now just to be a little bit on the safe side. We can also burn her for some weather, but they usually have a weather clear anyway, so not the biggest thing to think about. So now we really need to work out when we're passing, because we want to get our card back, obviously. And we also want to have a lot of points for round 3, so we can kind of assume we're going to top deck into a Freya to res one of our bears or whatever. Okay, so he's locked the Unvic, which is a little bit annoying. But now we just want to we can drop the weather, see if he has an answer to it. If he doesn't, that's pretty good for us. And then after that, we'll probably play Bearmaster, get all the Bearmasters out. For round 3, you really need like a few, you know, soldiers in the graveyard for the Freyas, right? These are not soldiers, the veterans aren't, so you can't revive them with Freyas, only Sigdrifa. We want a Battle Maiden or 2 in the graveyard as well for Restore to be functioning, big value. And then Hunters, whatever, you can do whatever you like. Against this deck, it's good to note that he enjoys having a long round because of all the buffs that he can give to elves. So if possible, we'd like a short round 3. We can drop the Bearmasters here. Start getting rolling. We're dropping 16-point cards every time, 17 even with Spear Maidens, so that's pretty nice, and then Weather on top obviously is a lot of attrition damage. So the longer this goes, in theory, the better it is for us, kind of. Obviously he's getting a lot of points from the Vanguards that he's mulliganing out of his hand, so I'll drop the Spear Maiden here. Should be good. So I might want to get rid of Muzzle this round because it's going to be a little bit awkward to use potentially in future rounds. Obviously needing a target of less than 8 is quite a difficult condition to meet sometimes. There's another mulligan. He has a lot of points, this guy, so we'll do our next Maiden. We can start playing the Hunters as well. Hopefully we just get ahead at some point. Basically, any point from now on, if we are ahead on points, we'll be able to pass and get our card back, which would be really nice. And that Clear Skies is probably the perfect time for us to get out of here. He's behind on points. We can get our card back. Our weather's gone, so we're not gaining any advantage from staying in this round. And our hand isn't amazing, but at the same time we have Restore, which is quite nice. We could mulligan a Hunter or a Muzzle. We'll see what happens. Muzzle might be fine if he plays something like Hawker Smuggler, or even just an 8-point elf is fine, you know. 16-point gold is not too shabby. It's okay. And really we're just looking for the Freya here to res a bear, or, you know, whatever. And then we're going to play a Hunter and Restore Maiden into the Hunter. Should be good. We could have even kept a Hunter in our hand, but it's a bit risky. If we drew the third one, we wouldn't be able to pull a unit out with Shield Maiden, Spear Maiden, I don't know, whatever that card's called. So here we're looking okay. This is a decent spot. We usually want to be in this spot if we can. We want to make it to round 3, even cards with the card advantage. Even cards is the dream basically, but yeah. So we can Muzzle Smuggler. Obviously Muzzle's really good on engines. If you know your opponent's playing engines, you want to save it for that. like a Dragoon or a Smuggler or Mangonel, that sort of thing. And honestly, this deck's pretty straightforward to play. You just play the veterans, you just play your points, and then, you know, the rest just happens. You do have to be careful of Scorch quite a lot of the time, so use Hjalmar to play around that, and also try not to stack your 11s. But apart from that, it's not too bad. And then you have, in round 3, every play you make is like 17 points or whatever. It's pretty nuts. Okay, we're not vulnerable to Scorch here because he has the 18 on the board there, so that's good. Might have to deal with Sirinova or something like that. I wasn't paying attention if he had 26, but yeah. But we're looking okay here. Ethan's pretty big points, pretty not bad, with Tremors. Interesting. So we want to go with the Hunter first, obviously, because then we can restore into another one with the Spear Maiden. And that should be too many points, because it's a 15 plus an 8, but effectively 7. Yeah, and he's gone. He's out of there. So yeah, that was some gameplay. Deck's not too difficult to play. You'll get the hang of it after a couple of games, I'm sure. You've got to make sure you play the veterans early, though. That's pretty much the most important thing. And try not to, you know, go down too many cards. It can be difficult when you're not running Spy, but it's the price that must be paid for consistent veterans. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in the future at some point. I don't know. Goodbye.